Ashley, and welcome to another episode of Women of Her Story, a podcast dedicated to celebrating women who have made or are making their mark on our society. Today, I have with me soon-to-be MD, Sarah Leaf. Thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah.
Thank you for having me. I'm very flattered when you reached out asking me to join you today, so thank you for the opportunity.
Oh my gosh, of course. Like I was saying a little bit ago, you're so awesome. So I'm so excited we get to talk to you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Like I said, I'm very happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing well. The weather is pretty beautiful today. I went on a nice long walk with a
Oh,
dog, with the sweetest little dog. It is so gorgeous out today. New York has been having like 75-degree sunny weather.
that's great. I've been doing a ton of walking and getting outside during this whole quarantine situation, so it's great when the weather complies with that.
Absolutely. Has that affected your studies like negatively, positively? Have you felt like you could get a little more work done since you have to be stuck at home?
So our whole entire curriculum got moved online. We initially met every day in person. So it was a big adjustment for everyone. I was initially living away from my home for the first year of medical school, but I had the opportunity at least to come back and live in my own home with my husband again. So that was a positive.
Mm,
So that was definitely a plus out of it all, but it was a big adjustment. Fortunately, I have done a lot of online education previously in my high school and in college, so it wasn't as big of a change for me. Um,
mm,
but for a lot of people, I think they had a hard time with switching to everything, no in-person.
yeah. Yeah, online school is such a tricky beast, especially if you've never had to take an online course before. It's such a different muscle that you have to flex in focus your focus muscle.
Definitely. We haven't learned about that muscle yet in med school, but I'm sure that focus muscle will be coming up.
Oh man. Well, for the longest time, you were on the trajectory of professional dancer. What
Mm-hmm.
what changed and why did you make the shift to the medical field?
So it's kind of a long story, and it's definitely not been a direct path to getting where I am today. And had somebody told me 10 years ago that this is what I would be doing today, I would be super, super confused. Because like you said, growing up, the only thing I ever wanted to do was to be a ballet dancer. And I was fortunate to make it pretty far with that. But unfortunately, my dance career was cut short due to several injuries. It's very common in the dance world. But I
Mhm.
never had even considered what else I would do if dance didn't work out, because in my mind, ballet was the only option. There was no plan B for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
So the only other thing I had really been exposed to or considered was nutrition. As I'm sure you're aware, eating disorders are very, very prevalent in the dance world. And so we
Mhm.
had, I don't know if your companies did, but a lot of the things I was involved with had dietitians come speak to us throughout the years about nutrition and healthy eating.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, yeah. So I think that's something that's pretty common for dancers to get exposure to. So I did start to gain an interest in nutrition. And
Mhm.
then that became even more important for me after I got my first couple of injuries. My doctor had prescribed me some steroid medications to help. But unfortunately, a side effect of steroid, ended up gaining quite a bit of weight from the medications. So on top of not having the ability to exercise as much because of my injury and the steroids, my weight just kind of kept coming up. And
Mm.
for one of my last performances, I was waiting in the wing right before I was about to go on stage, and the ballet director came over. She slapped my thighs and then yeah, it was terrible. She gave me this look of disapproval. And then about 5 seconds later, I had to go on stage and perform as if nothing had even happened.
I hate her.
Right. So
Oh
I
my
think
God.
that wasn't really an isolated incident for me. So at that point, I even delve deeper into educating myself on nutrition. And I also kind of at that point realized maybe this dance world wasn't for me. I
Mm.
just don't know that I wanted to be a part of such a negative environment.
Mm-hmm.
So that was pretty terrible. And after I did decide ultimately I couldn't dance anymore due to injuries, etc., I went back to college and I did pursue nutrition as a career. I initially thought I would work with eating disorders. That's what I sought out to do when I first
Mm-hmm.
went into that path. But after I got involved more into the field, I realized other areas of nutrition were more of interest to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working inpatient at a hospital, which I really enjoyed. I loved the inpatient setting. I worked on a critical care, intensive care unit for burn patients. That was
Oh,
what I enjoyed.
wow.
Yeah, it was very different. Not at all something I ever even knew was a thing when I was dancing, but
Yeah.
it was wonderful. And being a dietitian was very fulfilling, and I would recommend it to anyone interested in pursuing it.
Mm.
But I kind of felt my opportunities for self-growth and my abilities to help the patients were limited as a dietitian.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got to where I am today. I decided to apply to medical school, and I plan on keeping my dietitian credentials because I think they'll be extremely beneficial. But I'm happy to say I just finished up my first year of medical school, the best in my opinion. So that is my long roundabout
No,
path
that's,
to here.
yeah. Did you question your decision to make that change? Was it kind of, I mean, you were saying that if you had asked you 10 years ago if this is where you were going to end up, you would have been shocked. Was it tough to leave that world behind, or did you feel drawn to this new exciting change?
It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
Mm.
It was, I still to this day wonder what if things had been different, if I wouldn't have gotten injured and if I would have continued dancing. But I'm a true believer, as corny as it sounds, that everything happens for a reason. If I continued to dance, I don't know that I would be as happy. I never would have had the opportunity to fall in love with my husband, which is the best thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I'm so close with my parents, so I don't think I would have had the opportunity to live as close to them as I do. Most ballet companies are in bigger cities, and I'm not from a big city, so that I wouldn't have had that. I have a hard time. Sometimes I see my classmates, my former ballet classmates, doing amazing things and being super successful. So it's hard to see. I don't want to say it's hard to see them doing so well because I'm very happy for them. But I also
Right.
wonder what my life would have been if.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like I said, I'm very happy with how things turned out.
Good. Yeah, it's always tough. I've touched on this before when talking to other dancers. Dance is so ingrained into who you are as a person. Your self-worth is is attached to being a dancer just because of the nature of what it entails. And so anytime you even just take a break from dance, it feels like you're failing and that you're disappointing yourself when that's not even true. That's not even the real case.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. At the same time, I do think dance still to this day is such a big part of me, but it also helps me in these other career paths that I've decided to
Hmm.
pursue. I'm sure, as you know, you get so many lessons from dance. You learn great discipline, work ethic. I know I personally was exposed to people who were way different from me or people that I probably wouldn't have met in my small hometown.
Hmm.
So you get so many different cultures and appreciation for different people. So I think that's very much helped me become who I am today as well.
Hmm. Yeah, it's that's so true. And with as toxic as the industry can be, you can learn so many amazing lessons. And yeah, the discipline that you have to have, and then that transfers so well into every aspect of life, really.
Yeah.
So what exactly is your concentration in the medical field? Like what you touched on it before, but I'm not sure I fully grasped exactly what your focus is within the field.
There's a reason why you didn't grasp it, because I'm not entirely sure yet. So while you're in medical school, you spend the first 4 years just in school. And then after that, you apply for a residency. And the residency program is when you begin to specialize your focus. So as of right now, I fortunately don't have to decide, because I'm still kind of exploring options of where I want to go. I'm just on well, I guess I'm about to be on year 2. I just finished year 1, but I still have 3 more years to go before to make a concrete decision about what I want to focus or specialize in.
Well, then what do you hope to achieve with your medical degree in a broad sense? Is that too corny of a question?
I'm not entirely sure. I do hope I can use my background as a dietitian to be able to help people out. Again, I don't really know how to answer this one.
Right. No, that's totally fair. That's kind of it's an unfair question of me to ask, because you don't have you're not quite certain the direction you're going, but it sounds to me like you wouldn't be in the medical field if you weren't wanting to make a difference and help people in general.
Yes, that's fair enough to say. I do pursue this because I do want to help my community. There's so many people that just really need medical professions in general, whether it be a doctor, a nurse, whomever. But I do there's a shortage, and I do feel very rewarded. I feel good about myself that I'm not only bettering myself, but also being able to give back and help other people as well.
Is there an imbalance of female representation in medical school among students and professors?
I will say this is actually very exciting news. This year, my class nationwide, the class of 2023, is the first year ever that there are more women than men in schools. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that's kind of big news. Prior to this, obviously, this being the first year, everything else, there was a majority of men. But I do think they're making advances, and maybe it's just more women are interested in pursuing that. It's more attainable. I don't know, but it's changing for the better at least. But I do think that I've at least seen ways that they're trying to implement things in order to have more representation, not just only being more women, but people with different backgrounds all over across the board.
Do you have a particular professor, or maybe even just someone in the medical field that you're continually finding yourself admiring and looking at what they're doing and saying, yeah, they're doing awesome stuff and I want to do that too?
I think this is going to sound really corny, and I don't mean it to be, but I notice small things that every individual does. I don't think there's one person for me that one individual I'm inspired by, but little things by a ton of different people inspire me all together. Like I said, I don't exactly know yet what I want to pursue in medicine, so I think if I had more of a direct focus, I might be able to find someone who inspires me more. But I'm just trying to keep my doors open and be inspired by everything and just kind of try and take it all in. I do have a little bit of friendly competition. My brother, I don't know if he'll be annoyed I shout out him right now. He's a physician assistant, so it's nice to be able to talk to him and get some advice. And it is a little bit of a different career path, but it's also an amazing medical field, medical profession as well.
Are either of your parents in the medical field?
No, they joke all the time. They have no idea where this came from. So it's very peculiar, but
That's so funny. That's so cool, though. Usually, I feel like you hear about, families being in politics or families being like wholly in the arts.
right.
I can't say you could find two doctors that or two people in the medical field with two parents who are not, you know.
It, it's pretty exciting. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I will be the first person in my family on either sides to receive a doctorate degree.
Ooh. Oh, she's
Strange that.
fancy.
Yeah. No, no, not at all. But it's just interesting. Normally there is that family history of the career being there.
Yeah, definitely. That's so cool though. So where are you going to medical school right now?
I am at Southern Illinois University School of Medicine.
Hmm.
So the first year is spent down in Carbondale, Illinois, and then the remainder, the 3 years following, are in Springfield, Illinois, which is my hometown. So I'm very excited about that.
Oh, okay, good. That's fun. That's
Yeah.
really fun. So I can only imagine how difficult medical school is. What are some ways that you keep your mental health in check?
It's hard. uh, I would say my family is the biggest support for me. I'm very fortunate to, first of all, be able to have them living all so close to me. We're all in town. And then they've
Hmm.
just so supportive regardless of what I want to do. As you can see, I've changed career paths multiple times, and every time they don't question it. They just have been behind me saying go for it. And
Mm,
anytime I do doubt myself or am struggling with the pressures of school or whatever it may be, they just are right there to tell me I can do it. And so,
mm,
and I don't think I could have asked for something better than that. Um,
mm. That's
on
so
top,
nice.
yeah, I also find exercising to be very stress relieving, just to get out of my head and worry about, stop worrying about everything else going on.
Hmm. Do you do you like to take dance I mean, you can't take dance classes right now, but do you still dance, or is it more like running or gym workout kind of thing?
Uh, I wish I could still be involved with dance, but it's actually very sad for me to be there and see these people doing
Mm,
something I love so much. And I
mhm,
always explain it like, imagine you're in love with your boyfriend and they decide to break up with you.
mhm.
The worst thing you can do is to continue to hang around them because you're never going to get over it. And
Yeah.
that's how I feel about dance. I feel like dance broke up with me and I still love it. I just can't have it. So I just have
Yeah.
to, it's so sad. I just have to not be involved with it. And I've tried to go to a couple shows, ballet performances, and I cry every time. So it's just really pathetic. But
No, that's not pathetic. That's totally valid. And
yeah,
that absolutely makes sense, and maybe one day you will be able to enjoy it either just in the audience or taking a class, but that's just not where and that's sounds like it would make your mental health pretty
worse.
bad.
So I do, my dad and I actually go biking almost every weekend and when the weather's nice. So I do a lot of biking and Pilates. Like you said, the gyms are closed right now. So when they're open, sometimes I'll go and take classes. I kind of am open to whatever, at least trying something once and seeing where it takes me in terms of exercise.
Hmm, that's fun. Have you ever thought about like rock climbing?
Yeah, I have. So down in Carbondale, where I was for my first year of med school, some of my classmates were actually very big into rock climbing. There's some beautiful nature areas in the area. Um, I never did it though. I am afraid of heights, so I'm not quite sure how high up
Mm.
I'd be able to get, but I would try it.
I there's in Dumbo, the the little there's it's a Dumbo, right, in New York City?
I don't. I know of
Oh,
the elephant
well,
person, but
So, oh yeah, so I'm just now am hearing that, and I'm like, Dumbo, right? You're like, the elephant? I don't know. Oh, it's this area of the city, and they have this like not Ferris wheel, merry-go-round. Is that a carousel? Maybe carousel. That's what it is. I got there eventually. They have a carousel, but they also have this cool like outdoor, but it's still like fake rock climbing, like a rock
Okay.
climbing
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
outside. And they have all kinds of the coolest things that you can climb up there, from everywhere, from just like really short ones to like really tall ones. I love that stuff. I'm too scared to try to do like actual real life rock climbing.
Did you do that one though?
I did a while. It's been a long time since I did it, but it's so much fun. And you're like harnessed and you'll be fine. But like, I've always wanted to try actual rock climbing, but I don't think I'll ever do it.
Well, if our paths ever cross, we should just go for it together. Well,
Yes, we have to. We could do it. I think we could make it.
absolutely.
Do you have any advice for any aspiring doctors or anybody wanting to look into dietitian? You mentioned it like earlier to pursue it if you're interested. And where can people start if that's something that they're wanting to get into?
Yeah, I would say the earlier that you're able to start is better. Like I got a start and it definitely did have some more obstacles. So both of those career paths, dietitian, doctor, do require prerequisite classes in college.
Mm-hmm.
So just finding what classes you need and starting out there. Obviously, school advisors can help you out with that. Not as specifically, I think it's very important. There are many obstacles along the way, whether you've known your whole life that you wanted to do this or if you start late, there are challenges along the way. So I just think regardless of what you want to do, just don't give up and give it your all and don't settle. I think it's very easy as soon as something gets tough to take the easier routes, but ultimately I don't think people will be as happy as if they were just to continue pushing through and trying, and it may take a little bit longer, but just keep going and pursuing whatever it is that they want to pursue. The other thing that I think has been really important for me is I do think there is somewhat of a pressure to harden yourself in order to be successful, especially as a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that as well sometimes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. It's like you have to do, in order to be taken seriously, even not professionally, even like visiting the doctor and say, I had a time when I was having like really extreme abdominal pain, and they weren't listening to me, and they were just like, oh, you're fine, it's probably just like cramps or gas, and it turned out to be an ovarian cyst that had popped. And it was one of the most excruciating things I'd ever felt, and they were just kind of brushing me off, saying that like, well, because they couldn't see blood on the outside, there's no way that I was actually in real pain. And so I had to like be a jerk about it.
Yeah, I think that there is that pressure in order for people to take you seriously. But even though it is so easy to fall into that, I just would encourage people to try and not harden themselves, to continue to smile and be kind, because I think it's very important. And I think it will let people go further in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Have you had any issues with, I mean, it sounds like you've got a great group of fellow students that you're surrounded by, but have you had any issues with being dismissed by fellow students for being a woman, or has it been a pretty nice, supportive environment?
I think for the most part, I've been very fortunate. Like I said, I do think my class is a very diverse group of individuals, and I think they make an effort to have that. So in that aspect, I'm very happy. And I don't know if I'm being naive or not, but I really don't think I've encountered it too much. Every once in a while, and again, I don't know if this is because I'm a woman or just because it's me, I don't know, but I do think something, given a suggestion or an answer, and people don't really acknowledge it, but then somebody else, and again, I don't know if it's because I'm a woman, but a man will then give the same answer, and everyone's like, oh, that's a wonderful idea. And here I am being like, didn't I just say that?
Oh yeah, that's one of the most infuriating things. Generally,
Right.
that I don't know why, but it's popping into my head, that feeling when you tell a really good joke and nobody hears it, and then somebody repeats that joke and everybody cracks
Correct.
up. It's
Well, I've done that because I'm a terrible joke teller. So.
but it's like that kind of feeling. I mean, not to make light of it, but like it is where you just feel this like sense of like, oh, I
Yeah,
definitely just answered that question that
right.
exact way, and you all pretended like it didn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, was I not loud enough? Like, what is going on?
That's so minor compared to everything else. So I think like I said, I'm very fortunate in having a
Mhm.
great group of classmates and teachers. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Do you have like a smaller class? Like, do you think maybe it's an experience you're having this type of, um, you're fortunate to have this healthy learning environment because it is a smaller university?
yeah, I believe there's 60 some students in my class, which compared to most medical schools is on the smaller side. And the
Hmm.
ratio of teachers to students is higher as well. So there are several benefits there. And
Hmm.
like I said, I do think they make an active effort to get rid of any sort of biases. So I'm really happy. It's been a great fit for me, and I've really enjoyed it so far.
Good. And I I have a question. So do you guys are you given any training or taking any classes about being non being unbiased in treating patients and trying to, I mean, especially with what everything that's happening right now with the transgender, it now being okay for to be medically discriminated against? Is this something that is being discussed, or is it just kind of touched on for a second and then brushed over, or is it even like part of the conversation right now?
It actually is. And I think before everything became such a, I don't want to call it a hot topic, but such a
For in the
big,
forefront of the
yes,
conversation.
yes, thank you. That was, I didn't want to incorrectly say that, but they have made great efforts every year. So not just this year. We recently, in the last unit of school, we had a panel of people with different gender identities come and talk to us, and they were very open, and it was very helpful to understand how they've been treated differently by medical professionals and received less care. So I hope it was very eye-opening for me, and I hope that I can help to eliminate some of those things in my own practices in the future. uh,
Mhm.
there was things that I definitely didn't realize happened, and I'm very glad for those opportunities. So different topics like that have been discussed. And it's just our first year. So I'm sure in the future there's going to be so many more opportunities down the road.
Mhm.
And I believe tomorrow night that they're having a White Coats for Black Lives rally that our school has put together. So that's great as well.
Amazing. And I think something that this that can also include, and I'm sure it will be very eye-opening for a lot of people, I hope, to see that it's not just, I feel like a lot of people have a picture of who is part of the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's not at all an accurate portrayal of what the people involved in this movement. And I think when doctors are taking these steps to say, look at us, we are we are a respected profession that you all are part of, and we are part of this movement. And I think that adds so much validity, not that the not that it's not valid without it, it just compounds more and more and really pushes this movement to where it needs to go. And I think that's really amazing that your university is taking those steps to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Before we get to our last two questions, is
Yes.
there anything else that you would like to add? Anything
No.
we didn't touch on? No. You're like, I think I said it all.
I really have been so grateful that you asked me to be here today. So again, I'm just thankful for the opportunity, and I think we've covered more than I was prepared for. So.
Well, good. I'm glad we were able to talk about some things that you weren't anticipating. That's fun.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I ask the same last two questions to everyone that comes through the podcast. First, what is your second favorite color?
It is pink.
Pink. What kind of pink?
Probably a light, very soft pink.
Like a pastel-y pink?
Yeah.
Why pastel pink?
I think it's pretty feminine and relaxing. Not that guys can't like pink, don't get me wrong. I don't know. I like it.
That's a totally valid reason to just like it. Pale pink, I think, is such an underutilized color. To be perfectly, I feel like people usually go coral before they go that like nice, light, soft pink that just kind of makes you think about Easter, and then it makes you want to eat some peeps.
You're making me hungry right now.
And lastly, what, in your opinion, is the best part of being a woman?
I think while it's unfortunate that sometimes women are underestimated, it does give us the opportunity to surprise people. And I absolutely love nothing more than proving people wrong when they think I'm not capable of something.
Oh, that's the best feeling, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that's partially why I am where I am today, because I had to prove some people wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have just thought of a question.
Yeah.
Surprise, last question. What's the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian?
Great question. I was hoping you would ask me this. Because it's one, I wouldn't say it's a pet peeve, but it is somewhat frustrating because I don't think people realize that there is a difference. So a dietitian does have to go to college, get a degree. Now a master's is required as well, and they have to take an exam to become certified. So they have a lot of training that goes into it. They take yearly continuing education. So it's a very regulated term, dietitian is. A nutritionist, so you yourself right now with no training could call yourself a nutritionist. It's not regulated. Anybody out there can be a nutritionist.
What?
Yes. So if you want to add that to your resume, you can go ahead. So there are a lot of people claiming to be, quote, nutritionists when they don't have any formal training. Not to discredit some of them, I'm sure are very intelligent people and have very great advice. But I would recommend just looking into their background and seeing what sort of
that
experience.
Seems very dangerous to me.
Right. I would agree.
Like,
I might be biased though, but
no, that seems really irresponsible because I don't like that. I didn't realize. I thought you had to at least get like a basic certification. That's crazy. I do
think taking steps to kind of fix that, but I think it'll still be a long time coming before that's changed.
That's so crazy. And that also is making me think about all those, like you were talking about, like in your dance companies with getting talks from nutritionists, and I'm thinking back to the different ones that I've received, and how the language that they use is very irresponsible, and it encourages eating disorders.
So it really makes you wonder what sort of information is being put out there. And unfortunately, I do think a lot of people are getting harmful information that's not being regulated. So it's putting their health at risk, and they think that they're doing the right thing. They think that an expert is telling them something that has a lot of science behind it, when in all reality, that may not be the case.
Yeah, it's like all the like diet fads and stuff that
Right.
keep popping up,
Mm-hmm.
where I just a lot of them, common sense would dictate that the all like you can't do a detox. That's not a thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Like, no, your body does the detoxing for you, and you can't eat. Uh, oh, you know,
I'm blown right now.
that just feels so crazy. And then the fact that I feel like corporations also hire nutritionists to come in and talk to their, you know, employees about like healthy living style. And that's one thing to say, like, to say you do have good like advice, but you can't, I don't think it's responsible to say, like, why not just say you're like a health, I don't know,
Right.
health, I can't even think of a way to brand it, but
Right.
you know what I mean, like someone in like the health service. That's not the right terms, I don't know. Well,
I get where
I'll,
you're going.
because you can have good advice, like that's just so frustrating, because then there's the whole thing where people are like, you can't, like, don't eat fats, and it's like, no,
Mm,
wait, you need fat because your brain needs fat, like
right.
that's mm,
I'm a big proponent on not cutting out any major food group. It's going to be that whole everything in moderation is key.
yeah,
Um, but I do want to clarify this. Dietitians can also call themselves a nutritionist, but a nutritionist cannot call themselves a dietitian. Does that make
right,
sense?
that
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely makes sense, that
Yeah.
absolutely makes sense. And I think nutritionists shouldn't be able to call themselves nutritionists if they have no training and if they have no actual real science to back up anything that they're saying.
It's very
That's,
weird.
that's just so wildly irresponsible, and I hate it. I'm so
Yeah.
I'm so upset right now.
Well, hopefully maybe some people will listen to this and we'll just get to the right people and they'll change it. Who knows?
Are there ways to, I mean, could you just like theoretically Google dietitians in my area and then that kind of thing is going to pop up? Or is there, does that make sense? Like, how could people go about finding the right people?
I think the easiest way may just be to look at the credentials. So anyone that is a registered dietitian will have the credentials RD after their name. And then if they're licensed in the state, so each state requires different licensure regulations. So they may also have LDN after their name as well. Whereas a nutritionist, someone with no training, will not have those credentials.
Okay. Okay. That's really good to know.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I hadn't thought about that question earlier.
I was most people don't even know it's a question to ask though. So
Yeah, it just kind of was turning over in my head at the end there, where I was like, wait, there's got to be a difference. It's kind
yeah,
of like the difference between like a psychiatrist and a therapist.
sure.
But then even therapists still need certifications and training, which is why that's crazy to me that that's not a
I
thing
believe that's familiar. Yeah,
that should be absolutely 100% required to be giving
right.
people nutrition advice, and then to not even actually have anything backing it up. I know I've said that like 5 times now, but that's still, I can't believe that. That makes me really upset.
Yeah. I'm
Wow.
right It's just not as much of a shock to me. I've dealt with it, processed it for so many years now. So
Yeah, fair. You're like, it's I know your mind is blown, but it's real. Like,
oh yes.
oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Sarah. I know that you are going to make such a difference in whatever field of medicine you decide to go into. You have such a giving and warm heart, so I know that you're the right person to be in this kind of profession.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
Of course. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in again. Before you go, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review, all that good stuff. You can visit our website at www.ofherstory.com. You can follow us on Twitter at the Her Story Pod. You can follow us on Instagram at Women of Her Story Podcast. And you can shoot us an email at womenofherstorypodcast@gmail.com. Until next week, be safe, stay healthy, and show the world what you're made of.
This is a New York Lich production.